speaking last time of the ideal society that the mother had in mind for the flowering of the new race, the race of the sons of God. And we all know that the ashram was the first project of her conception to take shape here. How far the ashram answers to the ideal society that the mother envisaged is a moot question. But let us always remember that this collectivity is a place where aspirants, apprentices for spiritual life have gathered. We should always remember, when people tend to be critical, that we are all sadhaks and not siddhas. If all were siddhas or saints, there would not be any reason for them to be here. It is because each one houses the flame of aspiration in some measure, and each one has a link with the mother in some way, that the collectivity is there. It has always been a question asked not only by outsiders, but even among well-meaning inmates here. Why people who have nothing to do with spiritual life, who are very crude, violent, hardly fit for this kind of life, why are they admitted here? When this was asked to Sri Aurobindo, he said that the collection is my luck. There is a purpose why people are gathered here. It is a representative collection. If only sattvic people of a certain ethical perfection, standard, were admitted, that would not serve our purpose. There is a design of providence that each one represents a type, good type, the wrong type. And the idea is that typal representative is to be worked upon by the force of transformation or grace or whatever. And to the extent that the change in that individual is achieved, a possibility is established on earth for that whole type to be changed, to be transformed by the divine Shakti. Naturally, it means if those people want to be changed, want to be transformed, here is a possibility open for them. So he said, all have to be represented here. Mother answered this question slightly differently. She said that all these considerations, the capacity of the person, the circumstances in which the person has come, the connections the person has, all these are not very relevant. She always would look here for a sign, and if the sign was affirmative, the person would be admitted. If it was not there, she would not answer. And it is in that connection that she said that famous sentence that here nobody comes here, everybody is brought. Brought because of the demand of the soul. It's not that everybody who is brought stays here, is meant to stay here. He is exposed to the light. And a person may turn to spiritual life sometime, not necessarily in this birth or any birth, any other birth possible. But it is to expose. And as for those who are admitted, it is a chance given to the people to breathe this atmosphere of grace, active for a special purpose. How far the individual benefits by it, profits by it, is his lookout. So, when you find many uneven levels in the quality or in the quantity, you have to have this picture in mind. It is not a school of perfect people. Once Mother explained how this ashram should be looked at in a series of concentric circles. She observed that at the core, at the center, there is a small circle of dedicated sadhaks. Around them is a larger circle of those who have not come for sadhana, who are not doing sadhana proper, but who have devotion. And they are consciously or unconsciously preparing themselves for sadhana in future. And she said they are the large section, the bulk of the population of the ashram is that those who are preparing through their devotion, through their work, through whatever means. And the third circle was of students who have come here for studying with this background of the ashram. Around the students there is the periphery of their parents, relatives who are here not because the ashram is here, but because their children are here. But their benefit also is indirect. still larger circle is of those who come and go periodically, who keep up contact in various ways. They are the devotees, some of them disciples, who stay outside, but in their own way participate in the ashram life. Still, the larger, on the outskirts of the circle, are people of goodwill, people with a benevolent attitude to the ashram, all over the world. So, ashram as such has to be seen in this perspective. It cannot be looked upon as an establishment, as an organization which has been firmly organized, set up for a particular purpose, like any college or a university. It is not. It is something dynamic, something growing. That is as far as the collectivity, the ideal society. I raised the question whether we represent, how far we represent this ideal society. It is difficult to answer really. But as I look back, I do see that till the outbreak of the Second World War, 1939-40, this was a place only for sadhaks. There were hardly 200 or 250 people. I used to type those names, and so I remember the number. And there was a severe discipline. People themselves did not feel it as severe, but those from outside felt we were very Spartan and severe in our lifestyle. It had its own charms, and as far as the local people are concerned, visitors to Pondicherry, the ashram inmates were always known as Swadeshis. The name dating back to the early days when political workers had come along with Sri Aurobindo and continued to come even after he retired. Each one had a look of a sadhak, lady or gent, spotlessly clean white. Men, they had not too long, some of them had hair up to here. Sri Aurobindo always spoke of the Roman cut. The hair would fall on the shoulders and it would give a special look to the face. And as far as the ladies are concerned, mother insisted that they always had the, I don't know what they call in English, yes, they had to cover their heads when they went out of their house. And would rarely go to the market. We felt it infra dig to be seen in any shop. There were certain individuals who were appointed by mother to make purchases. The man would be there, one or two others. And if anybody needed anything, they would go and request them, can we please have it? Things were easy at that time, more easy, because nobody kept personal money. I mentioned some other time that she used to give 2 rupees pocket money on the prosperity day to everybody. That was all. And that was her idea of testing in what way the consciousness of each sadhak works in spending that money. Because some would collect that money, 2 rupees for whole year, and on their birthdays they would offer it to her back. But she said, that's not the purpose for which I give. I want to see how you utilize it. You utilize it for sweets, fruits, or you utilize for joysticks, or you utilize for read books, whatever. I want to know that. So there was a meaning in every small activity. That could be managed till the gates were opened to the influx of people, refugees, and people who are in difficulties after the outbreak of the war in eastern India. And Mother has explained elsewhere how her whole approach and method of working changed at that time. Till then, she was doing the sadhana in each individual, personally. And she would follow the movement in each sadhak. But after that, she says, it was not practical. So she kept herself and the reservoir of grace and power at the disposal of everyone, and looked upon everyone as participating in the project and drawing from the reservoir. So the character of the ashram gradually changed. And I wouldn't say that the whole organization today is the ideal society that she had in mind. But the core that she spoke of, and that still represents that formation of ideal society. This idea of a propitious spot for the flowering of a new race has caught on, and I have had occasion to participate in the life of a number of what are called New Age centers in different parts of the world. Of course, ours is the largest and the oldest New Age society. The others come to life with a teacher and wither away after the passing of the teacher. So it has been calculated how of more than 2,000 or 3,000 New Age groups that came to birth in the 60s, hardly there are 200 now. That is because the basis of most of these societies has not been spiritual, idealistic, mental, in a certain sense vital, but not spiritual. It is only a spiritual reality that can give a solid base. And if in India certain centers have survived over the years, some over centuries. It is because of that spiritual afflatus that has initiated that movement in the beginning. That goes on in cycles. It doesn't depend upon the individuals, but upon the consciousness and the consciousness force that is set to work. Thus far about the collectivity. And the next item, the terrestrial transformation and harmonization can be brought about by two processes which, though opposite in appearance, must combine, must act upon each other and complete each other. That is, she focuses here two factors which in their dynamics must meet and must work together. First is an individual transformation, inner development leading to the union with the divine presence. That is the top priority, even with a member of a collectivity like this. The top priority is his individual realization of union with the divine presence. That is sadhana. First priority is that, individual sadhana. He is the key. Sri Aurobindo has always held that the individual is the key for the progress of the society. So even in an ashram, where the collective character is emphasized, the most important is that each individual must work on himself, on herself, and achieve that union. And everything else has to proceed on that basis of that inner awakening, inner realization. The difference between the quest for individual spiritualization, spiritual realization elsewhere and this here is. In other places, they take it that till that realization is complete, that person has no business to concern himself with the world, to concern himself with others. But here it is not so. The individual realization is first priority, no doubt. But you don't live in a vacuum. You live along with others. So it has to be related. In individual daily life, each gain, inner gain, has to be related to those around. In the daily life must reflect the change in the quality of your inner life. You cannot wait till all is achieved. And what is important is in the very process of sharing your gains, of communicating your gains to others. Your inner growth is fortified. You grow more by sharing and functioning on the basis of your inner achievement. And each one who is that sincere, who is so serious about it, contributes to the creation of an environment which is favorable to the growth of other individuals. Each one, since he draws from the general atmosphere of aspiration, he has also a responsibility to contribute to that environment with the best that he is capable of. This question of the individual and the society has been debated upon in the West from different levels, social thinkers, philosophers. But in India, it has never been a big deal, because this artificial division between the individual and the society has never been important, has never been a factor in Indian social structure. Sri Aurobindo points out in his Foundations of Indian Culture how at each level the individual's life is connected with the collective life. There is no question in this perspective of rights, individual rights. Every Indian child is educated in its responsibilities, its duties. Duties, fivefold duties or fourfold. Duties to the parents, duties to the teachers, duties to the family, duty to the society, duty to mankind. And there are other duties. But the daily life itself is organized to spell out these owning of responsibility. Things are quite different today, that's another matter. But if you go to a village in our country, something of this tradition is still alive. I had mentioned this on a number of occasions before. The first time I had been to the United States, I was being interviewed on the TV. In India, this emergency had been just declared, and there was a lot of controversy, and the media had projected a certain picture of Indian scene. So the first question that they asked, how is it that in the land of Gandhi and Tagore there is a suppression of human rights and nobody is saying anything? Spontaneously I answered, so we are brought up in a different culture. We always think of duties and responsibilities and never of rights. Then they sat up. He said, this is a totally different viewpoint. We had not thought of it. But in India, that's natural. So, when Mother speaks of the action and reaction between the individual and the society, it is something natural. It is not something to be forged. An individual need not feel very virtuous in doing some service to the society. And the society takes it upon itself that it has to look after its constituting individuals. This principle works in spiritual life also. The individual contributes naturally and spontaneously the best that he has to the society, to the collectivity. And the collectivity does not have to make a special effort to promote the interests or the growth of the constituting individuals. It is something spontaneous. Only each one must look upon oneself as an integral part of the collectivity. There is no question of I and others. It is one unity. So this has to be the core of the Gnostic society, which has to come one day, maybe even after 1,000 years, we do not know, but it is only a spiritual society of this kind where there is a spontaneous and a natural interchange, mutually beneficial between the individual and the spiritual collectivity, that can form the first beginnings of a Gnostic society. Later on, next time.